So, how to get from playing nice to get what you really want in life? So that's the topic I want to talk a bit about in this webinar tonight. And what I want to give you, to all the men that are listening, in this talk today is a reminder about your value. That means also about your dignity as a man. And that comes with that you feel again you have the right to get what you want in life. And it also comes with, again, finding out what's your responsibility in life. So if you want to stay tuned for this webinar, we'll share many important points that will make you understand this symptom of the nice guy a lot better. You might understand yourself and behaviors in moments much better, and maybe even understand others much better. And we'll share, so I'm here with my good friend Václav Němeček. We'll talk together about this. We'll share also some key points of what you can actually start doing about this, because it's often a very deeply ingrained structure in ourselves, but there are things you can do to really get what you want in life. So, welcome, Václav.
Hello, nice to meet you, Gregor. Nice to talk to you, share interesting stuff, very useful stuff, actually, that we both have experience with, and many other guys and men out in the world. And it's a pleasure for me to really speak to you and ask you to inspire others on what they can do in their lives, because I've seen many men actually struggling in their path, on their path, being unable to do anything about being a nice guy, to see and feel this lack of energy of getting somewhere or getting from their lives, so to speak. And I know that this is a topic of very huge amount of men. So I'm very grateful, and I'm also curious what you bring up with your knowledge, with your experience working with men for so many years. So for the beginning, I'd like to ask you, could you please say a few words of yourself, who you are, what do you do, what's your experience, what's your background working with men and this topic especially?
Right. Yeah, my pleasure as well to be here. Thank you. So I could say as the first thing about myself, I'm kind of a recovering nice guy myself. I know this very well in myself. And so from my working background, so I'm a systemic therapist and trauma therapist, and I'm also a coach and group facilitator. And I work with a variety of themes in personal and spiritual development with people. And a big part of my work is also focused on men's work and also on the subjects of relationship, intimacy, and also conscious sexuality. And I've been working with men for more than 10 years now, and in quite large groups and longer trainings. And it's also the place where I'm drawing the most knowledge from, I would say, from the direct application that I see how men are struggling nowadays, and also what men need or what helps men to kind of, in a way, claim back or claim our natural right to and our natural value as men. And maybe I say already at this point, I see a kind of like a historic trajectory over time here, that men usually were identified with as the strong part of the genders, and were often raised to be more risk-taking because they had to go become soldiers, adventurers, explorers, entrepreneurs, and so forth. So men were used to kind of be in their power, not always in their own power, but at least take risks. And now what we see, a lot of men in our modern world kind of have become more, in a way, sensitive, which is a very good trait also to develop as a man, and more relationship oriented. but it also had a downside that a lot of men nowadays see they don't know anymore that they can ask or kind of really find the value in themselves, that they can receive what they want or experience what they want. So it's a huge topic. And this nice guy syndrome, as it's been famously called now, really plays into this. It's like it gives it the name, what a lot of men are probably experiencing without even knowing. Because one of the biggest problems that I see with men, and also the nice guy, is a very strong isolation, that men feel they're the only ones that have these kind of problems. They think everybody else is doing well or getting ahead or having a great relationship or making more money. It's just me that's not making it. But what we actually see is kind of like a epidemic, I would say, that men feel afraid to ask what they want, or they feel afraid if they do that, they will become bullies. They will become dominating, terrorizing men that become perpetrators. So the work, in a way, is to see how can I bring back the power into my life so that I can shape my life and I can create the life I want and the relationships, sexuality that I want, and not become a dominating bully, in a way, so that it's not just benefiting my life, but it's really benefiting everybody around me and my life as well.
Yeah, thank you for this. My question would be, what is your personal story, experience being a nice guy? In what areas of life? How long has it been? How long has it lasted? That you've actually been struggling with this topic yourself?
Right. So my story with being a nice guy is, I first of all, I'm from Austria. So it's a country and the culture that kind of supports that already in a way. And I think that's for a lot of people also in European, Czech, Central European territories. And I grew up in a family where there was basically no conflict. So in one way, it was also very good. Like it was like a safe place for me to grow up. But on the other hand, I had no experience of what it is to take a stand in life or to make a point, or how to actually deal with the reality that life sometimes has conflicts. And especially relationships, sometimes you have conflicts, whether it's an intimate relationship or a work relationship, any place when we talk about getting what you want, we talk about the possibility of conflict, which doesn't mean that you need to have a fight with somebody, but it could be, but that you feel that it's okay that there is opposing forces or standpoints. So for me, I was a very sensitive child, which is still a wonderful trait that I love. I need that a lot for my work, but I had no idea how to often to bring that into the world. Like my gifts, I was developing a very rich inner world, but at one point I didn't really know where to go in life, which is often the case for nice guys. Like you just follow something and then you don't know really, so what is it that I want? What makes me me? So I found that a lot, especially in intimate relationship with women, that I found women that naturally had a more powerful, like fiery aspect to them, which is a good complementary quality. But it was difficult to, at some point, to kind of maintain the relationship because I didn't know how to deal with the conflicts that would come up. So often the only way I knew how to deal with that was to lose the interest of the relationship and maybe leave. So what I had to learn was that conflict is not bad, which is a key point for the nice guy. Conflict is actually a vital, important element of life. And that it's okay. And the other thing was that not making everybody happy will also make me happy. That it's not working just being a nice guy, being very liked by everybody, which in my case would come natural. People like me, I get along with people, but that doesn't mean that I would also really know how to take care of the things that are important for me, like even protecting myself, protecting my dignity and things like this. So there was a lot to learn, and for that I needed a lot of kind of difficult situations also to go through, but I'm still practicing. It's not something that is ever completely over, I think, but it helped me definitely to create much deeper relationships. It also helped my career to manifest in much bigger terms, and basically every part of my life to flourish more.
It's good to hear. It's many of us in this topic, and we from time to time really lack in support or any light in the end of the tunnel. Could you please say some words to your story? How did you actually started changing, or what was the impulse? What was the cure in your life that you started feeling a little more powerful, a little more dignified in yourself?
Yeah, for me, a turning point was in a way to consciously seek out and strengthen my male friendships, and also to find in a way stronger male mentors that would not just support me a lot in my healing journey, which I was very strongly on in a spiritual path, but to really in a way strengthen the male part, also that people that will confront me and not just kind of support me, pat my back, but also say, okay, look at your bullshit. And giving me in a way the confidence that it's okay to stand up for the things that really are important for myself. So I needed basically male support, which I didn't have so much from my background. I had a lot of feminine support and women around me that were good friends. But what I didn't have was this kind of strength and clarity of masculine friends that would also support me, but also help me to become more clear and not treat me as the child that goes like, yeah, they don't like me and I don't get what I want, to complain. But they would really put the point on, okay, what is it that you want? And that's fine. And also, what is it that you can do about this? So to treat me more like the strong man that I am, basically. So to mirror that part back to me. So that was the key point. So basically finding a men's group and getting very involved with men's work and all those things is still, I think, the number one support that helped me to, or is still helping me to work with these issues in myself.
It's good to hear. Very similar to mine, in a way. If we were to state what would be the goal or best result for anybody listening today of this webinar, what would it be? What is the goal or purpose?
I think the goal would be that I would encourage the men that you find a place in yourself where you can see that wanting something from life is not that you take something away from somebody else. That actually wanting something from your life is almost like that's what you're here. It's not everything. You want something and you should also give something back to life. But to understand that, especially in terms of personal relationships or intimacy, sexuality, if you only give, life you won't be feeling happiness. Same way, if you just take all the time, you won't feel happiness either. But what I see mostly now men struggle with, or the kind of nice guy syndrome person, is that people think unconsciously mostly that if I just make everybody else happy, if everybody just likes me, if I'm just being good to everybody, I'm gonna be happy as well one day. Everybody one day will wake up and see what a great, amazing person you are, and just like start applauding and say like, wow, you're really amazing. And it's not happening like this, and it won't, because that's not how life and relationships work. And that means that from this, you have to kind of start working again to understand that knowing what you want is kind of a work, and it's actually also very, very attractive. If you meet a person, a man, who is clear in his confidence and he knows what he wants, but he's not becoming a tank just rolling over everybody and taking it, but being clear about it and being able to relate to it, this is very attractive. Women of all ages, all looks, all differences, whatever, will tell you this one thing. If you boil it down, that if you feel that a man is clear and he feels himself and he knows what he wants and he knows how to act to get towards that he has a goal, this is incredibly attractive. You don't need to have an amazing body, amazing money, amazing career, whatever. This might come along, but it's not the one thing that makes you attractive. Attractive is your own confidence in your value as a man and how to relate that and bring that into the world. And I think this is something we can all still learn from, or like hear again, but there's very little teaching about it in the world, especially for the nice guys. The idea is still unconsciously, I just have to be amazingly nice and good and give everybody what they want, and one day it's going to be good. And it's not happening like this.
Thank you very much. I have one more question. If you were to put together some guidelines, structure, steps, know-hows, how-tos, in order to make your long, hard way, to make it quicker, more precise, is there anything in your experience you would say that you know how to guide somebody to really make this struggle as easy as possible, so to speak, or more profound?
Yes, definitely. That's the reason why I'm working, because I feel passionate to share those insights that I kind of like had to collect here and there and like pull together. And that there is really like a manual, let's say, how to change this inner unconscious guideline of like trying to make everybody else happy so that you're happy, to come back to the place where you are become more, let's say, the author or the director of your own life. And in short, it is, you need your own body without finding contact to your own strength as a body. It's very hard to do. You need contact also with your emotions, with your feelings, because otherwise you might achieve a lot, but it might not be meaningful to it because you don't feel it. You need to look at the way you're thinking and the way you have been learning to believe certain things about life that are just fundamentally not helpful anymore for life. And very importantly, you need a group of friends that are committed to the same thing to learn. And ideally, you also have somebody you trust more than your own doubts. So a male mentor or a coach or facilitator or somebody that you see kind of embodies these qualities that you find inspiring already more than you do, or in some ways maybe you do. So you feel like there's somebody you can learn from. because there's one thing about the nice guy. Actually, they aren't so nice, really. I always have this kind of funny slogan that said, like, never trust a nice person, because it's like nice is like, it's a compensation to survive. That's how it developed. People learn this in order to work with something that wasn't working well in childhood, or young boys often had to deal with the mother and find a way that she's okay with you. So, and that also makes them sometimes really very nice, but it also makes them sometimes just playing nice. And at the same time, you actually find there is a lot of hidden aggression or resentment or bitterness or inside, and you also don't want to actually let anybody else tell you what you like. You cannot take any feedback and things like this. So to learn from somebody that you want to learn from is an immense boost in your development. And that's something I tried to resist for quite a while. And I can tell you, it's okay. Like, everybody needs to make his own journey, but it's a powerful thing to have somebody that you feel, yeah, I can learn from you. Doesn't mean in every regard of life, but to those places where you feel you're struggling, that's very, very powerful.
Good to hear that. So could you please describe in a more detail what to your knowledge are all the symptoms of a nice guy? What areas of life these symptoms affect, and how usually men, nice guys, behave, and what are the outcomes?
Right. So I would say there is a few different characteristics, and one of it is, as I said already, is often that people might really be very nice people, and but they don't feel like that themselves. That there is a big gap of how people maybe talk about you. They say, yeah, he's a nice person, yeah, he's very helpful, and he's a great person, but you don't yourself feel great about your life. There's something kind of fundamentally missing. It has no spark, it has no edge, you feel like it doesn't really give you a deep satisfaction. So that's one thing. The other thing is, a lot of people with these struggles feel that they feel not respected in life. They always feel like somebody else gets ahead first, gets the promotion first, that the other guy just shows up at work and everybody looks at them, or you go into a party and everybody talks to everybody else but not to me. Like, you don't feel you're not being respected, or you don't know how to create like receive attention, or you feel like you work hard and you do everything very good, or in a relationship you're a good guy, you bring home the money, you take care of the kids, you take out the trash, you clean the car, you clean the house, and so on, and still at the end of the day you don't have the feeling that somebody's really respecting you for that. And that's terrible in a way. If you do a lot but you don't feel life around you appreciates you, then it often has to do with something in yourself, that you cannot respect yourself. So respect is a very big theme here. And sometimes it can even be that you don't really understand yourself, that sometimes in certain aspects you're very shy, insecure, you don't know what to ask, and in other moments maybe you just explode, or like you know how to build your career in your life, like in your job, but in relationships you feel always dominated by the other person, you feel always disrespected, you feel criticized, and you don't know how to change that, or you're very, very afraid of conflicts. Whenever something uncomfortable comes up, you really dislike that very strongly, because you don't know how to deal with that quality of disagreement in yourself, because you feel if somebody's upset, it must be my fault. And that's what a lot of people feel. If my partner is angry or sad, or if my boss is having an outburst, something, what have I done wrong? So when you catch yourself questioning this a lot in yourself, what have I done wrong, or what I should do better, then you probably have an issue in this regard that is very good to start working with. And the last thing I might say here is that at the same time, I see a lot of people that are actually quite accomplished, maybe are actually certain things are going well, they even have a relationship, a family, a career, but at the end of the day, it feels kind of dull. There's no, like everybody would say, what a great life. And you say, yeah, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like. And that's also a tragic case in a way, that like we all maybe lead in some ways good lives, but we don't feel it. And that also has to do with this, that there is a place where we don't feel we are even deserving it, or I'm not asking for the things I really want. I kind of live a life that is not really mine, because the nice guy is afraid to ask for the life that you really, really want. And it's only when we can ask for what I want that life becomes kind of sexy or adventurous, or it starts to make meaning for myself. It also doesn't mean that I have to get everything that I want. That's not the point. But that I, especially when it comes down to relationships, to sexuality, when I'm afraid to ever ask what's important for me, life will not provide it, because it's my responsibility to take care of that. So if you wait that somebody wakes up next morning and says, now you've waited 10 years in this marriage, never asking for anything, today I will give it to you, it will probably not happen like this.
Good to hear. And the follow-up question that comes to my mind is, do you have any idea, you should definitely have an idea or knowledge on strategies? What can a nice guy do about this? How can he imprison out of this? How to get out of this prison, which seems to be quite horrible and painful on many various levels of life. What mostly touched me was the lack of passion in life, the lack of direction, the lack of danger, or the spiritual energy that really drives you towards some direction or goal.
Right.
Do you have some basic routine or know-hows, how-tos? What, say at least 3 of them, what we can do about this, or what can men do about this?
Right. Yeah, so there's a number of it, and also we'll come to this in a bit. And also the working with a group of men, I think, is one of the strongest things that you can do. But anyway, what anybody who's listening right now can do right away first is to kind of let it in, all the things that we've been talking about, to kind of check with yourself, does this resonate with me? Does it make sense that maybe I'm scared or insecure about asking what I want? And then if you have a yes to some of the things that we shared, is to really make an inventory of looking at your life and check, where am I making compromises? Where am I saying yes to something where I actually feel, no, I don't want that? And to really maybe even write it down and just have kind of a look over your life. Where am I saying, yeah, it's okay, but actually no. If my boss asks me for the 17th time to work overtime on Friday, but actually I don't want that, Am I saying yes because I'm scared he might not like me anymore? Or can I say, no, this is not part of our deal, for example, or whatever is your response then. So to make an inventory of where do you make kind of like compromises that are hurting over time a lot, or in your relationships. And then to make a list also, or checking yourself, so what do I actually want? If I would be free now of, if I don't have to earn money tomorrow, if I don't have to make anybody else happy, if I'm kind of free of these normal limitations, what would I want to do really? And then check for yourself what holds you back from bringing this in some way already into your life. And if you feel like, I don't know what holds me back, then basically there is more work to do, which is mostly there for all of us. That you need to have a more like an inventory of how you grew up. How was your journey from becoming a baby to become a boy, a child, to become an adolescent, like a teenager, and to become a man? How was that journey? Because there's a lot to learn how we picked up those beliefs. And the last thing I would say for now is, as I said before, find some kind of physical routine or exercise that you can do at least 3 times a week. Ideally, do something for yourself with your body that feels a little challenging and a little pleasant every day. Without that, it's very hard to change anything, because the real power of change comes really from our connection with our body. And our body knows mostly quite clear what we want or not want.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is very crucial and very important points, which actually comes to my another question. What is that you do for men? What is the scope of your work? What are the possibilities that you offer, coming from your knowledge or from your experience, that you know of really do the change? Can you say a few words of these? What is your best ever preferred way and path any man can go?
So it's like a kind of like a sliding scale of effectiveness, I would say, that I tried in my own life and I see happening all the time. You can start with just getting information, like this webinar. It's very, very good to get informed of what's happening. You can get that through reading books on the subject and things like this. And then you can start practicing some of the things like we are suggesting here or that are in books. That's already a deeper step. And then what I've did also a lot, like then maybe you find a local men's group and you start sharing about these subjects and support each other and things like this. That's again a much deeper step. And where I am right now and where I really feel is my expertise of offering something to men very fundamentally or meaningful is to go to a training, like something that I offer, which is not just like some information or some practice or some good moments with each other, but it's really like a commitment to a longer path to change deeper habits in yourself. And we all know this saying that old habits die hard, and they're kind of true. And if we know how to change, actually it's all, even old habits change. And one of the things is like this training for conscious masculine sexuality that we in Czech are running since many years now already, where men come together for a period of a year for 4 weekend modules. And it's not just getting some information or having an experience over a weekend. It's really to dedicate yourself to look at certain things in your life in a much deeper way. And this is what I see really, in a way, creates miracles over time. And it's fun, it's also entertaining, but it's also really serious work to really look at places that are maybe uncomfortable or you haven't been looking at before in your life. But it's a very, very powerful thing you can commit to if you're really serious to bring back dignity in your life as a man.
Mm-hmm. If I was to attend this training, what I can expect to happen in this training? What is the scope? What is the form? How long does it take? How many people are there? Anything to say about this?
Yeah. So basically it's, as I said, a 4-weekend training. So we start Friday afternoon and go until Sunday afternoon. So it's like also in a residential place, which is very, very supportive because you really take time out from your normal structure of life. You get together with a group of maybe 30 plus men, something like this. And you really focus on a weekend on a specific subject. Like we go through our connection with our masculine, we go through the connection with our feminine qualities with women. And we really focus on that, and you focus back on yourself in your own life, and you learn about yourself, you learn about all the other men, and you learn from these men. You see that a lot of things will be quite similar and some things are very different. And the biggest power that I experience again and again is to form this kind of atmosphere or camaraderie amongst men, that we come together and we're not trying to find out who's the strongest and who's going to be on top, but we form a group that becomes very, very strong. And the group supports every individual, and it needs every individual. So from this experience, like I see again and again, like I've been doing this for many, many years, that a very strong connection among men is formed, which is quite, sadly to say, quite a rare thing in our modern society, that often men come only together either for competitive sports or for going to the pub to drink beer or to work. But to place the questions we have as men, and there's a strong focus in this training about relationships and also a conscious form of sexuality that involves all the questions and struggles and issues people and men have about sexuality and relationships. So to bring this into the focus is a very, very powerful thing, because you suddenly have a space where there's trust that is being built, that you're not being ridiculed with your questions, but you can trust that man will take you with respect. And then you can bring all these questions in, you can exchange views. And of course, through the way I lead the group, there's a lot of, you learn a lot of practices for yourself that you can take home and start to bring into your life, into your relationships, into working with your own body, with your emotions, your energy system. So there's a ton of work basically in insight and wisdom that you can take, which I collected over the last 20 years basically, and condense it into a form that is tested and tried already very well to benefit your life in very practical manners. So it's not a spaced out something affair. It's, we really look at your life and what you can bring into your life, so that more flow, more also passion, also more clarity can strengthen you.
Good to hear, but I would have a question. So how many, you said it's tested already. Is there any history of this training, or how many men did ever participate in this? And did you see any visible results that men report or experience after going through this training?
Right. Well, as I said, I've been working with men's groups for over 10 years. So I kind of lost count of the numbers, but it's like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of men that I've been working with. And also this format of the training is going to happen in its 7th round already. There was like always between 25 to 30 plus men in each training. So that accounts to a lot of men already. And also this format I've been kind of polishing over the years, so that the structures of the modules really make sense in itself. And what I've seen is very, very anonymously the same results over and over again. And of course, everybody goes through its own personal movement, but the one thing that everybody feels is that there's a time before the training and after the training when it comes to the issues about being a man, about intimate relationships, and about sexuality. Like, it's like going from primary school to university level in 1 year, because there is a huge gap of knowledge even about these subjects. And the other thing is that you see, in a way, the bodies of these men light up. It's like suddenly you plug them into a charger, and these kind of drained people over time get much more confident. You suddenly feel like there is strong men standing in the room, and there's men who know how to support each other. They know how to form friendships with each other. And they know that somebody in this world is having their back, literally. And this is a very strong thing. There is not this idea of we're kind of isolated in our world is so toxic. So to have this feeling like we're on the same journey together as men, we're not here to compete with each other, but to strengthen each other, and also to call each other's bullshit out, becomes a very, very palpable experience with the group. And then you see the results that relationships get better, or old struggles kind of clarify. What I see a lot also is that people are getting ahead in their career in different ways, or maybe they chose finally the path in their work that they really wanted to do, like things that they've been afraid of, suddenly they start doing because they feel they have the power from within to do that. And so the change can really go into every aspect of your life, but often it has to do with the confidence in your own body, the confidence in your own power. It has to do with clarifying your relationships, with building new passion in the relationship, especially for couples that have been together for a long time. And it's about being confident about asking for what you want, and also knowing how to work with that, not being afraid to be rejected so easily. Like, generally to have this thing of like, I'm standing here, I know what I want, I know my limitations, I know my powers, and I'm okay with myself on a deep level, not just like telling this to myself. So the changes are really, really, you can see that in the faces and in the bodies of the men, and it affects the places that need to change in life most. So that's, I think, what I can see. And it's a very, very beautiful and rewarding thing to see men going through this. And sometimes it's not easy. Everything that you change sometimes is not easy, but it's very rewarding. That much more happiness, life for themselves, and also for their families, for their kids, for their sons come up. It's like they become very different fathers, basically, also.
So if I'm a nice guy and I join this training, who can I become after when I go through? And also I'm interested what is happening, what methods you use and exercises, if you can say something about this.
Great. So if you're a nice guy and you go through the training, who you can become is really yourself, finally, or maybe for the first time. And it might be that you're a very strong, powerful person. Maybe you're a sensitive man, or anything in between, but you're knowing when it's time to relax and listen and be empathic, and you know when it's time to take action and be disciplined and go for something. So it's like you get all the tools and you know when to use what, because the nice guy often always uses the nice kind of tool always, all the time, but that does only work half the time or not even. So you enrich your toolbox and you become confident in that the way you are as a man really is fundamentally okay. And the way we work is, as I said already, a lot first through the body. Like there's a lot of physical exercises or breathing exercises and learning how to work with my energy system. And then we do a lot of interactive work also with each other, to working with sharings and feedback structures. So to help each other to become more clear with the support of each other. And it's also, we do a lot of emotional work to kind of get a lot of this often pent up anger or sadness or things that kind of like we lock up and we don't want anybody to see, which is another nice guy symptom, that you don't want anybody really to see how you really feel, which is devastating to the heart and to the soul of everybody. So we work a lot with this, that this gets more free again. And then there's a lot of also information how to understand your masculine part and your feminine part better, how to understand relational dynamics a lot more. And then we work with different concentration and meditation techniques that help you to find your own center, so to say. And so there's a lot of different practices, but the main work is that you're together with a group of men for this time, that you commit to it, and that already gives you a huge boost in your life. That if you're just trying to do this by reading another book, it will never ever get you there otherwise. Like the real thing happens when we bring it into action, and the real thing happens when we bring it into direct contact. Yeah. Because otherwise our mind is so cunning that it can tell us that we think we understand something when we just started to scratch the surface. So it's an adventure, but it's very, very rewarding, and it will give you an edge of by taking this risk over, basically over those who don't take the risk. It will give you the edge in making money and finding the girlfriend that you really like in basically every aspect of your life. Getting health, feeling more vital, feeling more meaningful. All these things come from the same place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we were speaking about there's a fall module training, mostly weekends, going through different topics. Can you specify a little bit more what these topics are, and why do you think they are so important for men?
Right. Again, we said the title of the webinar is like how to come from playing nice to get what you want. So, and the workshop title, or the title of the training is a conscious masculine sexuality. And that involves basically that I know how to work with my masculine energies. That means that I go for what I want, and also to work with my feminine energies, so that I can also, if I get what I want, so that I can also enjoy it. Because there is people who get a lot what they want, but they have never time to even enjoy what they want. And then they think they need more, which is another trap that is basically an endless cycle. So in the modules of the training, we start, first module is really focused on the masculine energy. That means we'll work, how do I feel as a man? How was my upbringing to become a man? How was my relationship to my father, my forefathers? And how is my relationship with these other men who are in the room with me? And how is my relationship or my way of getting what I want, or is that very, very difficult? And to kind of find the confidence again in the power that is innate in myself as a man, in my masculine body. Then the second module will kind of make a switch to the feminine energy and our relationship to the feminine, or to women, so to speak. Because this all applies to straight or as well as to homosexual relationships. It doesn't really matter. It's always the same principles at play. And so in the feminine model, we'll look more at our emotional world, because that's the rich territory of feminine energy. The power of the feminine comes through contact, connection, how to navigate, relating and being with other people. And also the power how to enjoy myself, to feel pleasure, which of course is a big part of why we like sex, because it feels good. And also all the shadow aspects that are in it. If we are just indulging, or we don't, or we felt wounded very often by feminine energy, by our mothers and so forth. So there's a lot in there as well. And the third module is a little longer. We stay 4 days together, three nights. And we look basically also in the so-called shadowlands, which means that we look also at parts that we normally don't want to see about ourselves, or a huge topic for the nice guy, of course, because you try to be nice. So you have to push the parts that you think are not good, are not nice, somewhere else. But it's like trying to clean your house by sweeping everything under the carpet. It starts to stink under the carpet at one point, and you can't enjoy your living room anymore. So we kind of do a bit of a house cleaning, which is very necessary, but it's also very healing. It brings a lot more things to light, and you can relax that it's okay the way you are. And in the fourth module, then we bring, in a way, everything together and look at a new vision for relationships, at a new vision for what a really conscious masculine sexuality would look like, of how is your own way of being a man. So not to create another idea of how you should be, but to find your authentic strength and value in all of this. So that's the outline of the work in a nutshell. But there's also work assignments that you get in between. There is mentoring group calls or meetings with their assistants. There's a whole bunch of people who have been doing the training before, and they're assisting the training because they're liking the work and are committed to it. And there is other structures so that you're not just going somewhere doing something, but this becomes really a course of changing your life as a man.
Great to hear. My last question is, if I don't go for this training as a nice guy, what are my possible tendencies or outcomes, or what possibilities do I have if I just stay on my way?
Right. I would say it's like you're driving on your highway of your life, and if you just keep doing what you're already doing, like you will basically experiencing the same thing over and over again. So if you feel now a bit discontent or unsatisfied or not happy, or not really enjoying what's happening in your life, the possibility of your life just by miraculously by miracle kind of changing in 5 years and everything's going to be good is very, very, very small. So if you join the training, you really take an action that will take you on a different highway, basically. So if you don't do that, you will don't have the chance to really experience through your body. And that's very important. You cannot get this only through the mind by reading a book. So you won't get the chance that you feel that life is a lot bigger, that there's a lot more support that you can take in your life, that there is risks that are available to you and are kind of ready to take. And you will miss out on a much deeper, much more satisfying life, which might be a bit more risky or adventurous or bumpy. Like, it's not just going to be just a asphalted highway all the time, but it's going to be a lot more interesting. It's like when you go on a journey and you come back, often what we talk about is the things that were a bit challenging. You don't talk about how nice and fluffy the mattress was in every hotel bed that you were lying. Talk about the things that challenged you because they made you somebody else. And maybe that's it in a nutshell, that not taking a chance like this is making sure that nothing changes. If you're longing for change, this is a very profound opportunity.
Thank you very much. And last question for this webinar is, what would you recommend to me if I'm just thinking about this training and the path? What should I do in the past few days in order that I can internally understand if this work is for me or not?
Right. I think I would go back to what I said before about checking if all of these things kind of make sense to you. And if you feel yes, it's not easy for me to ask what I want and so forth, then to consider, is this the way you want to live your life? Really? And to see, if you have children, if you have sons, to check, would you want your sons to live like this, really? Or if you have friends, would you want them, male friends, to live like this, really? Or would you wish for them to find more meaning, more joy, more passion, more adventure and more fulfillment in your life? And if the answer is yes, then check if that also applies to you. And if the answer is yes again, just see maybe get more information about it and start reflecting like how this happens in your life. And also maybe find somebody that you trust, that you feel is somewhere ahead on this journey, further than you are, somebody that inspires you, and ask them, what did you do? What inspired you? What helped you? And or straight away find a teacher, a mentor, a man that really feel like can teach you something, and connect with them. And if the path then leads you to this training, I'm very happy to meet you there. And also to say, of course, there's questions you have about the program, the way we work, then you're welcome to connect and also share your questions or concerns beforehand.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gregor. It's been a pleasure to listen to your talk about nice guy. It's been inspiring again for me as well. And I hope all the others, or you who are listening, this has inspired you as well. And hopefully you'll find this way, meaning that you follow and go and change your highway of life. So, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Václav. And wishing everybody a good day, or whenever you hear this. And just remember, there is a way to reclaim your dignity as a man, and that's a sacred task.